Joining me now is Republican Congressman Mike Turner of Ohio's 10th District. Congressman, welcome to CTW.
Curtis, thank you for having me.
I want to start with the basic question here. How does this end?
Well, it's going to have to end, obviously, with the Senate passing the continuing resolution that came out of the House. It is a clean continuing resolution. It puts the government back to work. It also lets us to go forward with the appropriations process that we've put in place. You know, we were doing a bipartisan appropriations process, and that really puts the government back to work. Unfortunately, continuing resolutions aren't really helpful anyway, but it is a stopgap plan to let us continuing the appropriations process that really was on the Senate side going through on a bipartisan basis.
The Democrats have concerns about health care and ACA subsidies. A lot of those subsidies are going to people in Ohio, many of your constituents. Shouldn't that be a concern as these negotiations move forward? Or do you think that you could somehow reach some sort of deal after reopening the government?
Well, Curtis, this really is an important issue, but it is an unrelated issue to this continuing resolution in the appropriations process. It's kind of unfortunate that Schumer has decided to shut down the government, causing so much pain across the country and to federal employees at this time to an unrelated issue. It is important. It is important that we come to a resolution in it. Certainly Thune has said that he will continue negotiations on this issue. It is important to Ohioans. We do have to come to a resolution on this issue, but the government needs to be open, both to provide the important federal services that we're seeing that are, having an impact on people's lives, but also, we are impacting federal workers and important issues like national security.
Federal workers have been through a lot in the last 9 or so months. It's first starting off as the second Trump administration. First, you had DOGE coming through, making several cuts. That had a huge impact in your district. Now the president and the Office of Management and Budget seem to be threatening federal workers again, either with mass layoffs or not providing them back pay. You have 9% of federal workers from Ohio in your district. What are your concerns about that?
Well, we're going to make certain, of course, that people receive back pay. And certainly, we had, again, Senator Thune saying that, it's the law. We're going to make certain that they receive back pay. And that will be part of the negotiations for reopening the government, I am sure. This is all part of the president making the important point of that this is part of the negotiations. This is certainly part of the posturing of the importance of, let's not hold the government hostage as we go through these important negotiations on important issues like health care and funding the government and getting people back to work so we can focus on national security and the functions of government.
Is the solution, though, as far as the White House is concerned, is the solution to harm the hostages?
Well, I think in this instance, we do have issues of how do we appropriately fund the government? What are appropriate functions of government? This is part of the negotiations in any appropriations process that we go through. The administration has been trying to right-size government, trying to find efficiencies, ways in which we can reduce overall government spending. We all know that government costs too much. We're spending way too much. We're spending more than we take in. We don't want to burden the overall economy with increased taxes. We want to lower overall costs. And this is part of the overall debate that you have at any time when you're going through the spending debate and processes, which is what this is, the overall debate of how much does government cost.
You are very active on the House Foreign Relations Committee, and you just returned from Ukraine. I want to ask you about what you saw and where do you think Congress's support right now for Ukraine is?
Well, there's strong support for Ukraine. And in my service on the Armed Services Committee, the last vote we had on the National Defense Authorization Act, over 300 members of Congress voted to sustain funding for Ukraine. It was an overwhelming support where there was an effort to withdraw support for Ukraine. So it shows that there is building support for Ukraine, showing that really their inspirational fight against Russian aggression, the murderous Russian aggression, their support for sovereignty, democracy against aggression and authoritarianism really rings true both with the American public and with Congress.
Where do you think they are right now in their progress? Recently, President Trump sort of made a pivot, saying that he now believes Ukraine can win. What did you see?
Well, from going there, you certainly get a much stronger picture of what they're accomplishing. On that front line, the front line is not moving. They are showing an unbelievable will to fight and strength, but it's the innovation that is occurring. Not only their ability to take innovation and technology in drones right to the front line to be able to hold against the Russian military, but their ability to field anti-drone technology, to give their ability to take to the skies, anti-drone warfare, to give themselves an air shield and anti-aircraft defense, is what really is being able to protect both their defenses, their military, and ultimately will be able to protect their citizenry. And also, though, what they're calling for and what we need to provide them assistance in is to be able to impact Russia's overall economy. Because it's Russia's ability to be able to fund through their sale of oil and energy, their production of munitions and weapon systems that they're bringing to the front lines, they're bringing to their ability to attack Kyiv and to be able to, fund their murderous aggression. We need to be able to pass additional ability for the president to be able to impact that economy. Both Lindsey Graham and Brian Fitzpatrick have bills that would be able to give the president the ability to do so, and I support those bills.
So much of the criticism surrounding Ukraine, though, is that we're continually supporting them and using money that should be used at home. A lot of people sort of don't realize, though, the direct impact support for on Ohio that support for Ukraine creates, whether it's making tanks in Lima or some of the other things that are being done. How do you make that argument that this is a good investment?
Well, the reality here is that this is about democracy versus authoritarianism. We have to be able to hold back authoritarianism because, as we're already seeing, Russia is expanding its war. They're attacking Ukraine, but they're also expanding. We're seeing drones that are landing in Romania, the Baltic areas. And as you have just described, our ability to fund Ukraine is using our funds to be able to buy munitions in the United States that we're shipping to Ukraine. But, we need to be able to impose sanctions on Russia to cripple their ability to be able to fund their production of munitions and weapon systems that they're bringing to those front lines, because, we're seeing China and India that's buying oil that are then shipping products to the United States that we're buying. So we're funding Russia's ability by products in India's products that we're buying that are funding then their war machine. So we're doing it on both sides. Now we need to be able to impact that math equation, and we need to do so by imposing sanctions upon Russia's energy and Russian oil.
Congressman Mike Turner of Ohio's 10th District. Congressman, thank you.
Thank you, Curtis. Appreciate it.